Hello and welcome to every Skaven Legendary Lord ranked from worst to best. If you're not aware, this is a series of videos I'm doing building up to ranking every single Legendary Lord in all of Warhammer 2. If you'd like to check out the other parts of this playlist so far, then be sure to click here. Before we get into the ranking, I'll first be going over the rules and criteria. I'm going to be focusing on the campaign rather than multiplayer because that's kind of my thing, and also anyone can make anything work in multiplayer if they are good enough. I'm going to be taking into account everything I can that is specific to the Lord and faction. This includes the unique effects they bring to their faction, the effects they have on their army, and of course the Lord themselves and their performance in battle. I'd also like to preface this by saying that this ranking is based on my personal experiences and opinions and is by no means facts. If you have a different ranking to mine, then be sure to leave it in the comments below. But first, a brief word from today's sponsor, NordVPN. So with the world opening back up, chances are you're going back out to places like offices, pubs and shopping malls. And of course, because you're a bunch of Zoomers and Millennials, I have the stats, you can't lie to me, you're going to be connecting to every bit of public Wi-Fi you can to save yourself having to pay for a truckload of data. What if I told you that joining those public Wi-Fi networks is the equivalent of going for a casual walk in Sylvania without a pre-story witch hunter with you? Anyone could be connecting to that Wi-Fi and harvesting anything you access while using it, including your search history, passwords, and even financial information. You might be thinking, how do I avoid this horrific fate? And the answer is simple: NordVPN. A VPN basically acts as a bridge you connect to whilst doing things online. All that anyone can see is that you are connecting to Nord and nothing else. That goes for the internet service provider as well as any potential hackers. And if you're worried about Nord collecting your data, then you don't have to be. They keep zero data on anything at all, so you can browse whatever you want and it stays between you and Sigmar. And if you're worried that they won't have a server near you, they have 5,377 superfast servers all over the world in 59 countries. So if you'd like to stay safe online at an affordable price, then head on over to bit.ly/CallDNord in the description, or simply use the code COLDAMDAS at checkout to save 70% on a 2-year plan plus get an extra month free. That's 9 pence per day or 0.38 pence per hour or 0.0063 pence per minute. All the rest of the details that you need are in the description and the pinned comment. I'll now return you to your regularly scheduled programming. Now without further ado, let's get into the rankings, starting in 6th place. Personally, I chose to put Queek Headtaker here. His faction starts in the mountain pass between the southeastern jungle and the south desert, which means you're fighting from a corner where pretty much no one likes you. For his faction mechanics, Queek stealing XP from all other lords is kind of meh, and especially useless in the early game when he is your only lord. By the time you have a few other ones to steal XP off, Queek will probably be max level or close to it, so you won't end up getting much value. The less loyalty right out the gate for spellcasting lords is just a big nerf and an ouch, and the more capacity for chieftain lords is more capacity, but it's not going to change the game. For his personal army, he grants 10 melee attack and 10% weapon strength when fighting versus dwarves and greenskins. This will be useful when fighting to the north, but it's still going against some very tough factions. He also grants minus 50% upkeep for storm vermin and clan rat units, and plus 3 uses to the menace below. As for his starting units, he gains Gutter Runner Slingers, which are a speedy skirmishing ranged infantry, Storm Vermin Sword and Shield, which are your endgame tanky infantry, and Warp Lightning Cannons, which are a great single target artillery unit. As for Queek himself, he is an excellent duelist with heavy armor and great armor piercing anti-infantry damage. He has no mounts, and with all his items and abilities, he gains buff for himself and debuffs for his enemies. The reason for his rank being at the bottom is that he is very basic, with no real unique mechanics to speak of. The XP sharing thing isn't really useful, as by the time you actually have a few other armies to give him XP shares, he'll probably be either max level or highly level, so it won't get a lot of value. The random reduction to loyalty is just kneecapping him for no reason. The buffs to his army are nice, given his rather dire starting location, but the fact he has to battle those two factions isn't exactly great for him. He's a very good battler, but he is just basic. Honestly, between him and Tretch, it could have probably gone either way. I just think Queek has the slightly worse starting location. Speaking of which, in 5th place we have Tretch Craventail. His faction starts in the Dark Elf lands. Clan Carond like you, but aside from that, you're basically surrounded by enemies. His only faction mechanic is that his faction gets +4 public order whenever a treaty is broken, which is just bananas. Would you like to tank your reliability for 4 public order? I didn't think so. Vermintide also get buffed to having courage and gain 3 recruit ranks. This lets them lead the army so Tretch can continue his busy running away schedule, and the faction also gains damage resist whenever using the scurry away ability, which is anytime they are running from battle. For his personal army, he gains +13 melee attack during ambushes or after retreating, so if an enemy ever attacks you, then be sure to retreat, because if they attack you again, you'll definitely be in a better position. He also gains Vanguard deployment for all his units, which is quite nice, lets you get up on them nice and quick, and perform a lot more ambushes. For his starting units, he gains a Doom Wheel, which is a great endgame war machine, Death Runners, which are stealthy high damage ambush units, and Storm Vermin Sword and Shield, which are your endgame tanky infantry. As for Tretch himself, he is an anti-large melee expert. He has decently high armor and a high damage anti-large weapon. He has no mounts, and with all items and abilities, he gains lots of buffs to himself, especially for running away and losing combat. The reason for his rank being so low is he has no real mechanics to speak of, unless you count that tanking your reliability for Fall Public Order, which I wouldn't say is exactly good. Starting nearby to so many potential enemies is a recipe for potentially being screwed over in a major way. His buffs to Storm Vermin are nice, and the army effects are actually decent, but Tretch as a fighter is weak, and his literal gimmick is running away, which isn't exactly great for the leader of your army. Taking our 4th place, we have Deathmaster Snitch. His faction starts in the eastern corner of the map, nearby to Malice and Imrik. He has no allies nearby to speak of until you find Queek, but as we've seen, that's not really much. His faction mechanic, the Shadowy Dealings, allow you to do all sorts of side quests using your assassins, including Snitch himself. This nets you all kind of buffs and bonuses, and can even help you out in wars. You can also perform contracts for the other Skaven clans to allow you to recruit their unit types without paying stupid amounts of upkeep. Without completing any of these contracts, you can be a little limited in your recruitment, as upkeep is increased by 200% for all non-Eshin units. All clan Eshin lords never lose loyalty in Defect, which is extremely convenient and useful, and Knight and Gut runners use armor-piercing warp-infused projectiles, which is a nice buff to some rather mediocre units. As for his personal armor, he gains 25% bonus to his ambush chance, which has been nerfed but can still be pretty strong, and plus 8 melee attack for embedded heroes. His starter units are Warp Grinders, which are a very strange support unit, mostly used to stop enemy movements and get through walls. Gutter Runners, which are a stealthy skirmishing unit, which are being buffed by that faction mechanic I just mentioned, and Eshin Triads, which are another strange unit. Anti-large but also stealthy, so sneak up on enemy large targets. As for Snitch himself, he's a great duelist assassin. He has a low armor but some physical resist, so can be deceptively tough. He has high armor piercing damage and very high melee attack, so can burst down enemies very quickly. Of course, he's a very stealthy lad, so that means no mounts. And with all his items and abilities, he gains a variety of buffs and active abilities that will assist him in closing in on his targets. The reason for his rank is that the Shadowy Dealings can do a lot once you have a few contracts going on, but before then, the upkeep increases for all non-Eshin units, limits you to stealthy gameplay, which isn't the best or the easiest, which means you can constantly be running out of money trying to avoid it. Increased ambush stance is strong, but since the nerfs, it's not nearly as powerful as it used to be. Snitch is a decent duelist, but as I found out way back in the Lords tournament, he is literally beaten by the generic Lord version of himself, so this isn't really going to carry his faction. Coming in 3rd place, we have Lord Skrulk. He starts in the southeastern tip of Lustria, nestled near Itza and the Blessed Dread, which means they have very few allies, though not that it matters when you're playing as a Skaven. Faction also gains minus 50% construction cost for Pox Cauldron, Pestilent Nave and Plague Bailey buildings, and minus 15 turns to the cooldown of the Pestilent scheme. This emphasizes the plague-focused gameplay and means that you can get more plagues out faster and cheaper than anyone else. This is especially useful when you combine it with the fact that plagues now buff your faction rather than debuffing it, so you are desperately trying to spread them to yourself. For his personal army, Skrulk provides minus 50% upkeep for Plague Monks, Censer Bearers, Plague Claw Catapults and Plague Priests, and he spreads plus 3 Skaven Corruption wherever he goes. His starter units are Rat Ogres, which are a decent armor-piercing monstrous infantry, Plague Monks, which are great anti-infantry infantry units, and the Plague Claw Catapult, which is a great magical and armor-piercing catapult unit. As for Skrulk himself, he's a low armor wizard, though he does do very high damage magical attacks, so it can be kind of questionable whether you send him in or not. He has access to the Skaven spells of Plague and has no mounts, and with all his items and abilities, he gains multiple debuffs and ways to damage his enemies. The reason for his rank is once you get a few plagues on the go, they can do some good work against enemies whilst also buffing you a lot. But at the end of the day, they are not going to actively win you your battles or actively win you your campaign, they're just going to give you a little bit of an assist. The upkeep reductions to his army are on great units and you'll be using them quite a bit. And Skrulk himself is a decently powerful wizard, it's just a shame he's so squishy, as he really could do more in the front lines if he wasn't. Coming in 2nd place, we have Throt the Unclean, who is the most recent lord to be added to the Skaven faction. His faction starts at Hellpit, which is the frozen North Skaven stronghold. It doesn't really have a lot of allies since the Dwarves are to the north and the Empire and Kislev lie to the south, but again, as Skaven, you don't really ally lots, but there's still lots of potential for enemies that could gang up on you. He has an extremely monster-focused gameplay with reductions to monster-related buildings cost and the Flesh Laboratory. The Flesh Lab allows you to mutate all units so that eventually they are all monsters in some way. There are a ton of mutations to choose from for all kinds of units, and all of them are strong. You can over-mutate, but those guys can just be recycled to create even more monsters. The Growth Fats collect waste material and create even more monsters and mutagen, which allows you to mutate even more. Once you get on a roll with this kind of stuff, it is very hard to stop you. For Throt's personal army, he gains minus 20% upkeep and 10 armor for all monster units, and his starting units are a mutant rat ogre, which is a high damage magical single entity monster, wolf rats, which are the warhounds of the Skaven roster, and rat ogres, which are a decent armor piercing monstrous infantry. As for Throt himself, he is a great general combat lord. He has decent armor and some physical resist, so can be extremely tough. He does decent armor piercing anti-large damage, and has a rat ogre mount, which are extremely fast and extremely strong. With all his items and abilities, he gains a lot of buffs for his monster units, as well as some summons. The reason for his rank is that his faction mechanic allows him to buff every single unit in the faction more than anyone else aside from Old Ikit Claw. The monster vats provide constant reinforcements and can get you as expensive and elite monsters as you like. Throt buffing monsters in his army makes it easy to field more of them and keep them alive longer, and he's also a decent battler himself, even if he does need that mount and some abilities to reach full strength. Now we come to number 1, and does it really come as a surprise to anyone that it is Ikit Claw? His faction starts in Skavenblight, which is the Skaven world capital as far as I'm concerned, and it comes with loads of build slots, slow movement, and a central position. You're basically surrounded by potential enemies, but the thing is, when you're playing as Ikit Claw, that's more of a downside for them than it is for you. The Forbidden Workshop mechanic allows him to buff all tech units in the faction beyond their already overpowered state. Infinite ammo Ratling guns, faster and stronger Doom wheels, and more stupid stuff. Oh, and I forgot to mention, this also allows him to craft literal nuclear weapons, which can be used in battle to devastating effect. His faction also gains faster researchers, so that's more free bonuses a lot quicker, and more loyalty for all new recruits, which is a massive buff. He also gains much cheaper engineering buildings, so you can get those weapons teams even faster. For his personal army, he gains minus 50% upkeep and plus 2 recruit rank for weapons teams units, which means fielding more of them and more elite ones right out the gate. For his starting units, he gains Rattling guns, which are fantastic rats with miniguns that slaughter everything, Warplock Jezzails, which are rats with sniper rifles that take out key targets from afar, and Doomflayers, which are smaller Doom wheels that shred almost any infantry with ease. As for Ikit himself, he's a spellcaster, a great fighter, and has a ranged weapon. He has extremely heavy armor, great armor piercing magical anti-large damage, and a very high damage magical ranged attack with short range and low ammo. And he also has access to the Skaven Spells of Ruin, which is up there for one of the most overpowered laws of magic in the game. He also has a Doomflayer and Doomwheel mount as options, both of which are great. And with all his items and abilities, he gains multiple magical damage abilities. Now the reason for his rank is quite straightforward. His faction mechanics are ridiculously overpowered. It makes the best units in the faction even better and even gets you literal nuclear weapons. The central starting location would be bad for anyone else, but for Ikit, it just allows easy access to even more victims. The upkeep reduction of his powerful units in his personal army is also extremely strong. Cap this off with the fact that Ikit himself is a very powerful fighter in every single aspect. Going against physical resist, he has magical attacks. Going against armor, he has armor piercing. Attacking from a range, he has a ranged attack. Needs some magic, he casts spells. He really does do it all, and he does it all so damn well. Thank you for watching this video ranking all the legendary lords from the Skaven. If you'd like to see me rank every single legendary lord in Warhammer 2, then be sure to subscribe to the channel. I'd like to take this time to thank all supporters of the channel, in particular Nifty Norm and Kobe Said So, for their ridiculous amounts of support at the Unclean Ones tier. I really can't thank everyone enough. One more time, thank you so very much for watching, and for now, I've been Colonel Damneders, and I will see you next turn.